one of the things which even WHO has said that it is extremely unlikely that the virus leaked from a lab in Wuhan. And, so this whole thing about lab engineered versus, natural occurrence. I mean, so what is your understanding of this? Is this a natural occurrence which really happened?
Yes. So what happens is that during evolution, viruses have evolved to be in all many different kinds of animals, birds, and so on and so forth. And in many respects, there are a lot of commonalities in the cell surface receptors of these animals, birds, and humans. And therefore, it would take only a small number of mutations to tweak the virus before it actually jumps from an animal or a bird into humans, right? So this virus is supposed to have jumped into humans by initially from bats into pangolins and then humans. That's what actually it is believed. But the conspiracy hypothesis that it was either deliberately leaked or an accidental leak is very, very unlikely. At this moment, I don't think we believe that there was an accidental or a designed leak of the virus from the lab. But that's only WHO is in a better position to address that. But most scientific community believes that it has been a random mutation that took place in a bat into pangolin and then in humans.
Okay. Coming back to India, I mean, we have such a large population with a significant number of people who live in very difficult conditions, close proximity to each other, unable to maintain social distance. And, and you also have talked about the hygiene hypothesis where exposure to pathogens in early stages, helps from fighting all these diseases. And immune training, which comes from chronic exposure to communicable diseases. So is this the best answer to explain, or one of the answers to explain relatively how Indians have fared well in this entire thing? Because, cases have dropped to 10,000 per day now. So, I mean, is this naturally that Indians with all their living standards and hygiene?
Yeah. So because I'm a co-author of that study, so obviously
yes.
My answer is going to be yes. So, but others, the peers will have to actually take a call on that, whether they believe or not. I'll tell you what happens is that people are dying of COVID-19, not because of the virus, but because how the immune system reacts to the virus. See, in any viral infection, when an individual gets infected, it's by about the third or fourth day that the virus starts multiplying in the body after infection, and that rapidly the multiplication goes up. By something like 7th or 8th day, there is a peak of the replication of the virus. And by then the viral replication starts coming down because body's immune system has taken over and body's immune system starts getting rid of the virus. So by about 10th or 12th day, the entire replication of the virus stops. And in fact, many people actually test RT-PCR negative on about 12th or 14th day after having contacted a virus. But something strange happens. On about 8th or 9th day, the body's immune system starts taking over, right? And body's immune system actually reacts to the virus that is there in the body. And there are multiple ways the body's immune system takes. So there's something called IgM, there's IgG, and so on and so forth. Now, people are not dying because the virus has replicated in the body. So because till about 10th or 12th day, people are actually perfectly, they have only minor symptoms or if at all some fever or something. By something like 10th or 12th day, the oxygen levels and all start dropping down, right? And that's where body's immune system has started reacting to the virus. And in many people, there's a hyperimmune reaction that takes place. So the body's immune system overreacts to the virus. And most people die because of this overreaction of the immune system, what we also call in some other words, cytokine storm and pneumonia-like symptoms. All of them happen because of the hyperimmune reaction of the body to the virus. Now that's a well-accepted fact in the medical community, this particular fact. Now, if you ask a question that in many rich countries, more people have died, and in poorer countries, less people have died. So if you look at the death per million in richer countries is much higher. In poorer countries, it's much lower. And the hypothesis that we worked with was that in poorer countries, the immune system is so well trained for people that the immune system does not hyperreact to a new pathogen. While in the richer countries, the immune system actually hyper-reacts to the pathogens. And a reminiscence of that, what we see are, for example, we are continuously exposed to pathogens in countries which have low hygiene and low human development index. While in countries which are very rich and high human development index, you don't see many infections, bacteria, fungi, and so on and so forth. But in those countries, the incidence for lifestyle diseases, Alzheimer's, diabetes, asthma, psoriasis is very high. Whereas you don't see that incidence high in low HDI countries. In the low HDI countries, we have higher incidence of TB, malaria, and so on and so forth. But autoimmune diseases, a reflection or a reminiscence of how people are dying to SARS-CoV-2 is much higher in high HDI countries or richer countries. And therefore, our hypothesis was, if we actually put all these parameters together, and when we did linear regression, we found that indeed, in richer countries, this kind of factors are actually some sort of correlative factors where people are dying more because they have lived in super hygienic conditions and they have had actually higher percentage of autoimmunity. And they also have a better demography. That number of people above age of 65 are way more. The fraction of people above age of 65 are much more in countries such as US and Western Europe than the countries which are in Africa or Southeast Asia and so on and so forth. In fact, today's numbers suggest that this particular fraction of people living above 65 has dropped for the first time since World War II in the US. Significantly it has dropped because COVID-19 has taken a major toll on very elderly population.
Dr. Mande, you head CSIR, and which has been, at quite a extent at the cutting edge in dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. And we'd like to know how did our scientists handle this enormous burden under your leadership that was thrust on them, in handling this and also in making an Indian indigenous vaccine?
Yeah, thank you. So first of all, I would not like to take any credit at all. I just happened to be here at the right time. The credit is due to entire Indian science and technology community. I'll give you some way events as they unfolded. On 7th of February, I was giving a talk in Pune for the Firodia Memorial Lecture, and Dr. Mashakar was in the audience at that time. And I said on 7th February that we are living in the Corona era. And India's first case had only been detected on the 30th January. So 7 days later, I said that we are living in Corona area. What I want to say is that already there was an inkling in the scientific community that something serious is unfolding. On 25th and 26th February, all the CSIR laboratories, we have 37 laboratories across the country. One of them is in Goa, in fact, a jewel in the crown for all of us, National Institute of Oceanography. All the directors of 37 laboratories met in NIO in Goa. And then we deliberated upon, should this become a global emergency, how are we going to react to it? Now remember, WHO had not yet called it as a global pandemic. WHO declared it as a global pandemic only on 11th March last year. So in scientific community, there is a widespread feeling that we are onto something very serious. And therefore, India's scientific community was already preparing itself to react to the virus. Now, this has happened because of years of investment in science and technology in the country. I think we should all be very proud that successive governments, irrespective of political affiliations, have continued to invest in science and technology in the country. And it has been phenomenal, right, over the years. Just to give one or two examples, the wind tunnel that was made in NAL Bangalore in the 60s and 70s led to a phenomenal growth of India's aerospace, phenomenal growth of India's space research. ISRO actually is a direct beneficiary of that, and phenomenal growth of India's defense. All the missile programs and all were built upon that wind tunnel that was made in NAL. That's the kind of infrastructure investment that has gone in science and technology over the years. And therefore, India's science and technology community has been prepared to face any kind of calamity that comes forth. And COVID-19 is no exception. So as far as the COVID-19 came, at least in CSIR, we formed a strategic group, and the strategic group rolled a strategy to combat it. And the strategic group started meeting every day. So from 25th March onwards, the strategic group met every evening at 6 o'clock. And every day we would discuss what we are going to do. we had a 5-pronged strategy. Number 1, we are going to do digital and molecular surveillance. Number 2, we are going to devise new diagnostics. Number 3, we are going to work on new interventions, drugs and vaccines. Number 4, we are going to make hospital-assisted devices. And number 5, we are going to supply chain model. We are actually going to evolve all of this. So it's a very holistic kind of a strategy, as you can see, a 360-degree view of the entire pandemic. And 25th March, we started working on it, mere 10 days after WHO declared as a pandemic. And because of that, we were able to very quickly, an entire CSIR rose to the occasion. And what a proud moment for the science and technology community, that all of science and technology community rose up to the occasion. The 2 fundamental principles that we said that we are going to work with and without which we will not go ahead. Number 1, we said that we are necessarily going to work with private industry. So unless there is a private industry with us, we will not even take development of a particular diagnostic kit or a drug or a vaccine from beginning. From day 1, private industry has to say that we are interested in this. Number 2, we said that every component that goes on making whatever we do, whether it be a diagnostic kit or a drug or a device, all components have to be made in India. We are not going to depend upon any import for that particular component. So based on this, the Indian industry is absolutely phenomenal. I personally wrote letters to about 50 industrial leaders in the country, some of the most best-known leaders in the country. And within 24 hours, I got responses from all of them. It's absolute phenomenon that was unfolding ahead of us in late March. That all the major industry leaders wrote to us saying that we are with you and we are going to work with you. So the diagnostic kit that we rolled out, it was Tata's who were working with us from beginning, what is called as the Feluda, the diagnostic kit based on something called CRISPR-Cas based system. The ventilator that we rolled out is Apollo and Bharat Forge. They worked with us from beginning. So we rolled out non-invasive ventilator. The drug that we rolled out, Favipiravir, that is available in the market. Cipla worked with us from beginning. The trials that we undertook, what is called as Sepsivac, Cadila Pharmaceuticals worked with us from beginning. So these are all the way actually different pharmaceuticals, different industries that we worked with us. And they have been actually principally responsible to translate our science and technology into the field. So we are very proud that the science and technology community and industry and the government rose to the challenge together. Years from now, when we look back upon how India dealt with the pandemic, I think it's going to be a very good chapter in the history that India actually rose to the occasion as one single country, all of us. Every individual in the country has risen up to the occasion, worked together, and we have made sure that our population is affected to a much lesser extent than many other advanced countries. So we should be all very proud of that occasion.
I must congratulate you, Dr. Mande, on providing the leadership and the guidance, for this to happen, and along with, of course, our Prime Minister and his Atmanirbhar belief. I think it has worked very well, and it's a moment for all Indians all over to be very proud of. I think it's a great thing what you have been able to do. Do you see scientific community worldwide also coming together for such pandemics in the future, or any calamities? I mean, did you work with other scientists worldwide, or was it basically more within ourselves only, just to make us self-reliant? Did you work with other scientists worldwide?
Yes, of course. So the thing is, we have been continuously exchanging notes with people from other countries. In fact, the closest that we have worked with is WHO, of course, where WHO has been in constant touch with Indian organizations, ICMR, CSIR, and so on and so forth. And we are continuously monitoring the situation with them as it unfolds. In fact, what kind of mutants are spreading where, and all WHO has been there. We have also been advising WHO on the new innovations that we have been doing. We have also worked closely with the US community, US scientific community, and they have had, so the principal scientific advisor in India to the government and the Niti Aayog member health, they have been continuously holding meetings with scientists around the world. We also have been involved in many of those meetings. So in a sense, world has come together for this particular pandemic. But what we are also preparing ourselves for any of such future pandemics together. And therefore, we as entire humanity should work towards that particular one. And the talks are already on with scientists around the world, how we are going to deal with future pandemics. There are much more serious problems which are staring at us. climate change in which such parameter that's really staring at us very, very badly. And in fact, it has the potential to be way more worse than pandemics such as COVID-19. And therefore, the world scientific community is very concerned and is working towards finding solutions for all these problems together.
Would you like to see more allocation of funds and resources for scientific research and development in India? I mean, how do we compare to China or USA and UK? I mean, are you happy with what is allocated, or would you like to have more in keeping with other, advanced nations or industrialized nations?
So I think this question is obvious answer. Any person you ask on the street, whether are you happy with the kind of money that you're earning, obviously a person is going to say no, right? But we do sincerely believe that there is room to improve the funding of science and technology in the country. On today's date, India spends about 0.6 to 0.7% of its GDP on R&D in science and technology, but large part of it comes from public funding. What we would like to see in future is that the private industry starts spending more and more money in the R&D aspect. So that would be real achievement for all of us if we are actually able to convince industrial houses around the country to spend more money on R&D. And let me assure all the people that more we spend on R&D, the better chance that we have of coming up with solutions that benefit everyone. I mean, in fact, even private R&D, there's a better chance of making wealth if you spend more money on R&D today. And many nations have realized this particular aspect. One of the most innovative nations, of course, is Israel that we see around. It's buzzes with innovations all around. But there are also countries like South Korea and so on and so forth, who spend a lot of money on R&D, but the share of the private industry which invests on R&D is much higher there. So the science and technology community in India would like to see this share of funding going much higher. We would like the public funding to increase significantly, but at the same time, we also wish that the private R&D funding increases significantly in the coming time.
Dr. Mande, I think we have really crossed our time, and just wanted to change track and just close soon. We are quite happy to know your father was one of the first head of departments, started at the Goa University. And would you like to talk about that? And, because we have a lot of Goan and we are based in Goa, and he made a great mark. So what was your first moments when you came to Goa with him, or how did he feel about Goa University?
I think Goa is an absolutely fantastic place. And it's a fantastic place, not because of its natural surroundings alone, but because there are fantastic people in Goa. It's amazing. I mean, the kind of warmth and love that we get every time I come to Goa, it's just simply amazing. Every time I come to National Institute of Oceanography, there's all warmth and things around us. In fact, when we used to come to Goa, when my father and mother were there, my father told me that when you go out of the house, you don't have to lock the house. You can leave the house open. In which part of the country you would see that? I mean, it's unheard of any part of the country that like that. People trust each other, and that trust and the love that you get from people, it's just amazing. And I really like Goa for that particular reason. My father had very pleasant memories. He has very pleasant memories from being in Goa University. And in fact, he cherishes everything that he did in the Goa University. He was the first head of the department of physics when Goa University became independent from the Bombay University in the mid-80s. And some of his own colleagues continued. And they have very nice people even in physics department today, which actually continue the kind of work that he did. So his legacy actually lives on in the university. So he's very happy. Both my mother and father also love French, and Goa has actually a lot of French culture. I mean, of course, apart from Portuguese culture, of course, is the dominant culture, but even the French French-speaking people are quite a few. And in terms of arts and other things, also Goa is buzzing with activity. So overall, I think if anyone asks me what would be the best place that you would like to live ever, I would say, of course, it would be Goa.
That's a great thing for you to say. Thank you so much. Before we close, we've had this question for our other speakers also, and something to inspire all our youth and all, Dr. Mande. What are your 5 mantras, for your personal mantras for what you have achieved, your success? I mean, you know, a person like you could have done anything in the private sector or anywhere, but you're so happy doing what you're doing, and you achieved a lot in life. So what are your 5 mantras for your success?
Oh, that's a very, very tough question, because normally I don't like to talk about myself. I just believe that there's been just series of accidents that happened, and I reached wherever I am. I don't think it is any short of accidents, because when one is doing 10th or 12th, one doesn't know what one is going to do in future. And okay, basically there's a series of accidents that I just chose to do BSc, MSc, and not to go to engineering at that particular point of time. When one is doing PhD, one actually is confused which area of work that you would do. And the choices before me, I had admission to do radio physics in PRL Ahmedabad. I had admission to do fundamental particle physics in TIFR Mumbai, and biophysics in IISc. It's just an accident that landed up in IISc. Similarly, I mean, by series of accidents, I just landed up here. So life takes you wherever. The only thing that we have tried to do, I mean, people like me have tried to do, and I'm sure that is true for almost everyone here in the audience, is whatever we do, we try to do to the best of our ability. We have our own shortcomings. We have our own strengths. We try to exploit our strengths. And whatever our shortcomings, we try to get over them by learning from our failures in lives and so on and so forth. And one is sincere to the cause, what we are doing. I think with bit of luck, one can always feel success at the end of the day. So that's what I mean. I don't have 5 mantras per se, but I will just say that be sincere to your job. And if you're lucky, who knows? I mean, opportunities are there plenty for everyone to grab the opportunities.
Thank you, Dr. Mande. Dr. Mande, we'll take a couple of questions. There's one from Dr. Pai. How far is it safe to meddle with mRNA without knowing its impact on evolutionary fitness, as we are told it may affect structural or functional genes?
So mRNA vaccines are now proven beyond doubt to be safe. Hundreds of thousands of people now have been injected these vaccines, both Pfizer as well as Moderna. They have not come to India yet, but in US and Europe, many people have taken these vaccines. They're perfectly safe. So I don't think there should be any doubt about any possible side effects of this. So a serious side effect. So no serious adverse effect has been yet recorded of any of the 2 vaccines. So we should be quite comfortable with these 2.
Another question from Amit Sharma from Bangalore. How long does the vaccine effect last after the first 2 doses are taken? Do we have to take this vaccine annually?
So as on today, what we believe is that after the taking first 2 doses, most vaccines are 2 doses, except Johnson & Johnson, which is coming in market, that is a single dose vaccine. But most vaccines are given on day 1 and day 28. And we believe that immune response lasts long. But because we are only in the 12th month of a pandemic right now, or rather 13th month of a pandemic right now, we'll have to wait and watch how long the immune response lasts. The vaccines have received an approval in late December. So people have started getting vaccinated only in late December around the world. So we'll have to wait and watch. We would like to believe that the immune response lasts long. In terms of immune response, there are 4 different kinds of immune responses that we talk about. One is circulating antibodies, one is memory B cells, one is CD4 positive B cells, T cells, and one is CD8 positive T cells. And T cells also offer actually a very powerful way of immunity against the virus. And we would like to believe for ourselves that this would last long. But it's watch game right now. Let time actually unfold itself and tell us whether that is true or not.
Okay. So I think we'll close now. Dr. Mande, once again, thank you so much for an absolutely inspiring, educative, and informative session.
Thank you.
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for giving us the gift of your time and able to elaborate on all the aspects. Our thoughts are very clear now. And I think the message has gone on that we should be careful and not take things for granted. So thank you so much.